My team wins, I get a kill, I even survive. Sounds like a good match, right? Not so much. So this is basically what happens when your mech, or you have to use your mech for something it's not really built for. So this mech is, to be honest, kind of similar to my Virago, the Hellbringer. You know, it's got a couple of large lasers and an ECM, and just one medium laser to back those up instead of the usual 4 on the Virago. But this one is a much faster mech. And if you see that gauge in the left there that's in like the 30s, climbing to the 40s, that is mask. It's Mylar augmentation system circuitry, something like that. Sorry, Battletech fans, I'm a little rusty. Anyway, it lets your mech move more quickly. It'll increase your top speed and your agility, but that gauge builds up. And if you let it redline, then you'll start taking damage to your legs. But anyway, if you see that locust that was just poking me, you're going to see that locust a lot. Target Gulf. The pilot's name is Dragon Fury. So anyway, back to the build. It's intended to be a mid-range support fire mech. You know, I get in with my allies, give them my ECM cover. Those 2 heavy large lasers do a lot of damage for just, you know, 2 lasers, but they take a long time to deal that damage. And what happens
with those
is
lights over there?
I wind up being just about the only one dealing with this particular locust that you saw earlier. Oh, real quick, so this is a very bad trade for me. That guy's at the edge of my range for my large lasers.
Oh, shit.
And again, they take a long time, so I have to expose for way too long. So he gets to shoot me with a Gauss rifle in my left torso. You see that's orange on the side, or in the bottom left. So, yeah, don't expose, don't use these lasers for long-range support unless you're, you know, one of many targets and they hopefully ignore you.
Yep. Above,
Then I was dumb enough to expose to the guy again. And this time he shot me with more of his firepower. But thankfully it wasn't too much. You know, this is still a mobile mech. That mask is good for getting you out of a tight spot. You know, you hit your mask and you run away.
Help.
So anyway, I see that locust running around, and I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on it, but honestly, I want to look for the bigger targets, you know, something where I can let my large lasers just do their full burn. Got an ally in the way this, you know, in this spot, so I was going to maneuver around the rock, and then like, wait, that locust isn't ours. Oh crap. So he's just going to keep running around in our midst, and again, no one else is really dealing with him. I did get some help there. But my lasers are awful at dealing with a quick target like that. You know, they take a long time to deal their damage, and he moves so quickly that he's going to get behind cover, or I'm going to have bad aim, and so I'm just going to splash him a little bit every time. And we really haven't been doing very well this match. You know, I mean, they've had, I think, 2 self-destructs. You know, I guess their people just overheated or something. So, you know, we're 5 and 5 on kills, but it's really not impressive at all. You know, we didn't necessarily earn those kills. But anyway, here's my buddy again, good old Dragon's Fury. He's doing a pretty good job of piloting his Locust, although he does occasionally stop when he shouldn't. You know, I mean, there are about 3 or 4 times in the match where he voluntarily stops to try to get a better shot, and he's, you know, obviously doing good work, but I would, for what it's worth, I would suggest just not stopping for those when you're, you know, behind enemy lines like this. So I think pretty much all the larger mechs are dead on both sides, and so the Locust doesn't quite have the easy pickings that he had early on. You know, I mean, when you're a 20-ton mech trying to maneuver around a 90-ton mech, I mean, it's no problem whatsoever. They just cannot swing around quickly enough to be much of a threat to you. but now that he's having to deal with targets that are like, 50 tons, it's a little harder for him to line up those shots that he wants. But anyway, I briefly get distracted by this Vulcan. My left torso is open, now my right leg is open, so I'm kind of vulnerable and decide to run away. Both teams, though, are down to pretty small numbers. We've got 4 left, they've got 3 left, and we're about to take out this Vulcan. I was trying to get his legs there.
Legs on Echo.
So, somebody took off one of his legs, and then they take off his other leg. And he goes down.
And you got a locust, something else left.
Then, like they're saying, we've got a locust. It's that same locust.
Locust is in the center.
I mean, we have a piranha, which would be decent at dealing with him, but I think the piranha is maybe just all machine guns. And machine guns are really bad at opening up armor. And they're kind of like my lasers, they take time to deal their damage, and they're just not, that piranha pilot is not going to get time to focus on the locust's legs.
Yeah, if you can get Echo's legs, he'll go down.
There I block him a little bit, and I mean, any time that I can slow him down at all is great. Because here I finally blow off one of his legs, and then the other leg. It was great to actually get to kill that guy who was doing so well, but man, it just cost me so much of my performance in this match. I mean, that's why I titled this, loss that was a win. I mean, the win that was a loss. Just because I had to spend so much time doing that, just running around looking for this locust that I'm ill-equipped to deal with. It's one of those times where you just say, well, it's a team game, I have to do this. No one else really is. But anyway, so we're pretty much down to the last guy, and
apparently stuck somewhere.
So yeah, I had asked for, or I had asked whether they were AFK. This guy says, there's someone who's just stuck in terrain, but I'm not really sure if he's right, so I'm still running around in circles while I'm capturing this base. Because I'm fairly damaged, and if somebody legs me or takes off a side torso, I'm in a lot of trouble. But anyway, I was on the Epsilon base, and if you notice, I just barely flipped it to our side. I just barely turned it blue, because we don't really need to do a full cap right now. We're far enough ahead that we're fine. So all I really want to do is just make sure that if their last pilot does somehow get free and they start trying to capture bases, that it's going to take a while for them to flip, my cap back to red. But anyway, I'm looking around, being paranoid as can be, because again, I'm still fairly vulnerable. Somebody could practically immobilize me pretty quickly. Because if they take off my side torso, that slows my mech down. If they take off my leg, that slows me down even more. And this is, it's not a light mech, but it's not a very big one. It's on the smaller side of mediums. So it really does rely more on mobility than it does armor. So if I get legged and slowed down, I'm in a lot of trouble. Anyway, so I start trying to make my way to C3 where they said the guy was stuck. I'm using my mask again. But I really can't burn it too much just because, again, my leg's already damaged. And I was trying to jump at some point and see if I could at least get a kill assist on the guy, but someone took him out first, which is fine. I mean, it was a long match. I was just kind of glad it was over at that point because it had been kind of frustrating. So the score screen will pop up and show that I actually took more damage than I dealt. I mean, 213 dealt, 302 taken, and I only destroyed 2 components. And I highlight some people here who did some decent damage. Nobody did fantastic except maybe Dragon Fury and Butterboy did, pretty well on the other team. I just don't know if I was doing well enough here.